you by Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center.
Good evening, Bombers. I'm Alvin Giles Knowles from the ZNS Total Sports. Well, day one of the Diamond League Finals over in Zurich, Germany. Team Bombers getting off to a rough start as local track and field superstar Stephen Gardner failing to finish in the men's 400-meter final. Gardner was the projected favorite to win the race, pulled up after what seemed to be some discomfort and fell to the ground during the final 50 meters of the race. Our news team understands that Gardner did suffer a slight injury, but are unaware of how severe at this time. He walked across the line in 47.37 seconds for an 8th place finish. America's Fred Curley won the race in a time of 44.80 seconds. Still have to compete for Team Bahamas is Donald Thomas in the final of the men's high jump and Shauna Miller-Weibo in the women's 200-meter final. In the MPSA playoffs, the men's games going down to the wire. The Chances Mighty Mitts took on the CNS Hitmen, and it was a very emotionally charged game as the underdog Chances had a commanding 3-run lead at the top of the fourth, the tide seeming to turn in the bottom of the fourth, with the Hitmen showing some championship pedigree, scoring 5 runs to take a 2-run lead. Ultimately, the game came down to the final play as the Hitmen won on a walk-off single in the bottom of the 7th with the bases loaded and 2 outs to secure the 14-13 victory. In Game 2 on the women's side, the Platinum Pool Lady Sharks took on the Johnson Lady Truckers. The Sharks was up early, leading by as many as 6 runs. The Truckers managed to close the gap, getting to within 1, but the Sharks' bite just proved to be a bit too much as they held on for the 10-9 win to go up 1-0 in that series. And a local gymnastic prodigy seeking to make history by becoming the first Bahamian to compete in the event at the Olympics. 14-year-old Sydney Wells is well on her way to making it a possibility, her local coach Trevor Ramsey on the inception.
Sydney has been with NASA Gymnastics from she was about 8 or 9, and she's always showed like a lot of potential. She's always been really passionate about gymnastics, both her and her mom. And her mom has always been very supportive in gymnastics, and that's why we were able to move to the next step of trying to see if we can prepare her to represent the Bahamas in 2020 Olympics. She's always progressed really quickly in classes. She's always been a consistent gymnast as far as attendance, consistent as far as her training, and so she was a really good candidate.
As for the budding superstar herself, what that accomplishment would mean for her.
Well, hopefully in 2 years when you have the 2020 Tokyo Games, hopefully I can compete and be the first Bahamian gymnast at the Olympic Games.
What would that mean for you being the first Bahamian gymnast?
I mean, it's just crazy that I'm the one making history. It'll be insane.
As for how she will get there, her foreign coach Ann Colasa explains.
The easiest path to get to the Olympic Games would be to compete at the World Championships in the year prior to an Olympic Games. That's where the majority of smaller countries and the teams are also qualifying at those events. Sydney, unfortunately, will not be old enough to compete in the World Games of 2019, so she will have to wait until 2020 when she's age eligible. But there is always 3 or 4 test events that you can enter, and if she does well enough at one of those, then that would earn her spot at the Olympic Games. So she has a few chances, and the window is small, but we believe that she'll be one of those top kids that hasn't already gotten out at the World Games in 2019. And we just really believe that she can do it. 2024 is another possibility for her to do a second round, or if something doesn't work out, she still will only be 20 years old, which is not old for a young lady. So then she could do it at the World Games. It will be a little bit easier.
And Sydney's support system is huge. Her mom, Nikita Thompson, tells us more.
Really, it's surreal to hear somebody speak of your child. The Bahamas is known for sun, sand, and sea. Is it known for gymnastics? I don't think so. So it's really, really incredible and such a privilege to have a child, and for coaches to look at her, international coaches who of course is used to working with a much deeper talent pool. The facilities, just the whole experience is so different from an international perspective as opposed to here. So hearing that, it was really, really incredible. And again, the journey, we bought into it. I actually bought into it. She has a fantastic coach here, Trevor Ramsey. The Gymnastics Federation is also very supportive. And so when we heard it and we found out that she had the potential, we just went on the journey with her and just threw ourselves in. Her family is very, very supportive. All of her friends, extended family members, we're all supportive, and it is an exciting journey.
Sydney is currently ranked as a level 10, which is one under the Olympic standing. And the Popcorn Super and Senior Bowling Championships recently wrapped up. Kayla Nixon was one of the competitors representing Team Bahamas in the competition, and she gave us this update on how the Bahamian contingent fared.
Great experience. We bowled against some of the best bowlers in the United States. We bowled against the United States, Mexico, Canada. The tournament was exciting. The lanes were on point. Everything was just rolling. We bowled well. It was 11 teams that participated, and the Bahamas came fourth, in both in the males and the female category. We did our best. If we bowl 278, they bowled a 300. It was stiff competition. Bowling is a job for most of the countries, and for us, we do it for recreation. But we love it. But they get paid, so they fight hard to win medals.
As for how they enjoyed the overall experience,
I think the teams bowl well. Our first shift was really, really great. We only lost by a couple of pins because we beat Canada and we beat the United States, at one point. But at the end, I think when we break, the first 3 games was great. The second 3, you had to revamp and oil the lanes again. So, when you take you're excited to bowl, but when you take that break, and then you have to, start over. I think everything just went down lane. Your fingers get swollen, and then you start to miss easy spares and so on and so forth. But, I wouldn't trade it in for nothing else. The experience, bowling takes me around the world. I don't think I would ever get to travel to any of these countries if it wasn't for bowling.
And Caribbean countries becoming a hotbed for basketball talent. These words coming from head women's basketball coach at Maryland Eastern Shore, Fred Batchelor, says that many Division I coaches such as himself are trying to capitalize on this burgeoning phenomenon.
We are a program that has done some traveling outside of the country. We just took a foreign tour to Costa Rica, and we're looking forward to building relationships where we can come and do something like that here in the Bahamas, as well as try to introduce that to other programs in our league. That's one of the things that I'm going to be motivated to do when I get back, is talk to my conference, talk to a lot of coaches in our league about the opportunities there are to expose our kids to the Bahamas. And there's a natural correlation in the fact that we are a historical black university, and that the history of this country is a great educational experience for the adults, but more for our students, and giving them an opportunity to have a more well-rounded experience playing basketball.
Now, what are coaches looking for exactly?
Potential. The biggest thing we're looking for is potential. Looking to see how we can find someone who may not be ready right now, but in time they will be ready. And if we're fortunate to find somebody right now, that's great. But we know that this is a process, and we're looking forward to building relationships. I think that's the biggest thing about why we're here and while I'm here, is to build relationships with people who will trust you with their kids. And that's not something that you do overnight. So we're optimistic in what we're going to be able to do going forward.
Batchelor says he plans to make his trip an annual visit.
And that's a look at sports. A quick check on weather is up next.